not quite full just at the moment in the Allianz Arena, but Bayern Munich tell us that it will be a sellout, the customary sellout. Any game at any of the top clubs in Germany seems to end up like that, and should be a great atmosphere here over the 2 days. Wow, of course, a former Tottenham star, front and centre. Hardly unusual that Gareth Bale's photo dominated the front pages in Spain this morning. More noteworthy that he is expected to lead the line for Real Madrid here against his former club. With the BBC not in full operation, Bale in, but no Karim Benzema nor Cristiano Ronaldo today. Both nursing minor injuries, we are told.
Ja, liebe Fußballfans, liebe Audi-Fans, liebe Audi-Mitarbeiter.
Our sponsor has the microphone. We've already heard from Franz Beckenbauer here. He needs no introduction at any time, of course. A rapt audience as he spoke to the Bayern public.
Neben dem FC Bayern ganz klar Real Madrid, seit langem sehr verbunden mit Audi, AC Milan seit vielen, vielen Jahren sehr eng verbunden mit Audi und natürlich Tottenham Hotspur. Und ich wünsche Ihnen heute einen traumhaften Event, 2 tolle Fußballtage und damit eröffnen wir den Audi CUP 2015. Seien Sie uns willkommen.
Well, they put up the money, so they're entitled to have their say on the pitch. In a multi-million dollar, multi-million euro, multi-million pound industry these days. And fantastic, as you alluded to, Gary, that Tottenham Hotspur can test themselves against Real Madrid's mighty lineup today. Certainly the younger players will relish that opportunity. Sergio Ramos is still a Real Madrid player. And confirmation of the starting lineups. Gareth Bale reportedly himself the subject of 2 world record bids, £100 million plus from Manchester United, but we expect him to perhaps lead the line today. We shall find out shortly. Luka Modric also featuring against his former club. The newcomers Casilla in goal and Danilo starting for the new man in charge, Rafa Benitez. Gunter Pell from Germany taking charge. No Iker Casillas anymore, of course, for Real Madrid. And Hugo Lloris only just getting back into training for Tottenham Hotspur. So Michael Vorm is most certainly number 1 at this point for Tottenham.
Stay here, kick off. Good luck. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck.
Danny Rose apparently linked with a move to Chelsea, included by Pochettino in the Spurs starting lineup this afternoon. And the centre-backs are the men he has spent his money on, and both feature here, Alderweireld and Kevin Wimmer, a young man with precious little top-flight Bundesliga experience, now thrust into the Premier League spotlight. Young Dele Alli, the teenager signed from MK Dons, also featuring today, we think, alongside Eric Dyer in a very new-look combination in the midfield for Tottenham Hotspur. Substitutes are plenty on both sides, of course. Been pretty exciting from Real Madrid's point of view for Benitez in pre-season. They beat Roma in Australia, in Melbourne, on penalties, then ran through Manchester City 4-1 a couple of days later. 3-0 against Inter when they moved on to China on this global tour of theirs. And they won 10-9 on penalties in Shanghai against Milan. We may need penalties here. That will be the first alternative route if it does end all square after 90 minutes. Tottenham get us underway in their change strip against the most famous all-white kit in the world. I think Tottenham fans won't mind me saying that. Tottenham on the brink of the elite under Redknapp 3 or 4 years ago. And now Pochettino's task in the season ahead is to get them back into that top 4 and work from there. They've not been spending large amounts of cash in the transfer market. Alderweireld and Wimmer, some €23 million between them for the pair of centre-backs. And Kieran Trippier, who's on the bench today, 5 million from Burnley. More outs than ins at Spurs.
Obviously the priority for Tottenham was strengthening that defence, because as much as they were threat going forward defensively, they're one of the poorest records in the Premier League last year. So you can obviously see straight away those signings will have to come in and try and improve that statistic.
Turned away by Marcello, with a new goalkeeper behind him, of course, this season, Kiko Casilla. How extraordinary that they've replaced Casillas the Great with Casilla.
Amazing. And that's probably a problem for Real Madrid again. They need to improve their defensive thing, because obviously last year goals are plenty of like Ronaldo, but if you were to beat Real Madrid, you knew that the Achilles heel was always their defensive problems, and new right back's been brought in, Danilo. You obviously heard a lot about whether or not the goalkeeping situation is going to be strengthened. And if you're talking about bringing someone like De Gea in, we know how valuable he is to a team, and that could be the difference in making up where they failed last year, those fine margins.
Got room to work with here, Walker. And Spurs really should have been in front inside, what, 2 minutes here. Lamela never balanced when he comes onto this, Gary, was he? Incredible.
What a chance. We're talking about Real Madrid's frailties at the back, and yet they haven't conceded a goal all pre-season other than a penalty, and what an opportunity that was for Lamela. Now, this is a guy who was a 1-in-2 ratio when he was bought from Roma for all that money, and unfortunately, since he's been at Tottenham over the 2 seasons, he's a 1-in-10, so that has to improve if Tottenham are going to have a better season this year.
Not only was it only 2 league goals for Lamela, but much more required in terms of his impact all around the game, week to week, for sure, for Tottenham.
He's obviously a fantastic talent, but it takes time going into the Premier League, but he's had that bedded in now, and we expect a really strong season. I'm sure that the Tottenham faithful will be also.
Isco it was who made tracks down the middle then, and Bale arrived off the front. There was some speculation that Bale would be asked by Benitez to play down the middle up front. You're shaking your head, you didn't believe it today, did you?
No, because all through pre-season, Bale was played at 10, and it's not someone you associate with 10 being able to be a playmaker from there, but the man on the ball there, Real Madrid will playmate from that deep position with Modric and Cruz. Wonderful passes of the ball. Real Madrid will be up the pitch, and they'll be within a pass of the opposition's goal. So Bale's been playing that central area to use his power and pace to attack any spaces that are created by the movement of Ronaldo, Benzema. But on today's game, obviously Hesse up front today will be playing that lead role.
Modric to Toni Kroos, back on very familiar turf, of course, the former Bayern midfield star. Kept in by Bale on that far side. Danny Rose. Played off by Kane. And worked out eventually to Walker. Didn't want to go forward again then, second time, even though he had so much room in that early thrust through Tottenham.
They like to get control of the ball under Pochettino. You'll see the 2 centre-backs spread really wide, and Dyer obviously predominantly a centre-back playing that holding role today. He'll give that extra security there and maybe play from there. But it'd be interesting to see his midfield partner, Dele Alli, today. We're talking about a guy who's playing League One football last year, and now he's up against the might of Real Madrid.
Ramos, so important they cannot let him go, apparently. According to Perez, in fact, the president of Real Madrid said, if I let you go, they'll have me out in a week.
Well, this is a guy who's going to be the captain now. It seems so strange, all that talk about going to Manchester United. We've seen all this stuff before, all this type of talk about moving on to try and get a better contract, but if you want to be winning Champions League titles and getting back your domestic league title, you don't let someone like him go.
A little bit late from Eric Dyer into the back of Isco. Fascinated today to see how Dyer does bedding in this midfield role, actually, Gary.
I think obviously the 2 guys from last year, Mason will probably...
Oh, what a hit on the crossbar. And more worrying again, Vaughan got nowhere near it.
What a strike from Hesse. This is a guy who has a real big future. Obviously, a cruciate injury curtailed it a bit, but look at the pace, just running on the shoulder there. And this is the problem that Tottenham had last year, that people were getting in behind their fullbacks all the time.
Could be 1-1 inside 5 minutes today.
Incredible. We know they're both goal-scoring teams, but defensively there is a weakness, and we've seen it so early on again today.
Modric. Marcello. Out from Cruz again. What are Tottenham looking to try to do in this game, in your opinion, tactically, Gary?
I think with Pochettino, he likes his fullbacks to get in advanced areas, keep the pitch really wide. Dyer will obviously be in there to look after the ball, which he hasn't done particularly well to start.
And we've seen already what they can produce on the counter. They're going to go in front. That's a much better stop by Vorm. Got fingernails to that. It was certainly going in. And Tottenham survived this time just. And he needed to make that save after what had happened a couple of minutes before.
That's a wonderful save then. It looked like it was going to be nesting in the bottom corner. But this is the problem. Because they're so expansive, Tottenham, if you have a central midfielder, you have to look after the ball. And if Dyer gives it away on occasions like that, they will be punished by a team with this quality.
For a side still, what, 10 days before their league programme gets underway, Real Madrid look mighty sharp here. Done a lot of travelling, but, you know, they have been playing quite intense games. Maybe Tottenham can hit them on the counter again as they did early on. Kane was making tracks, never reached it.
You say what would be a feature of Tottenham's play? It would certainly be the fullbacks getting advanced areas, and we've seen Danny Rose there again, who had a wonderful season last year for Tottenham. Obviously, the big signing was Ben Davies at left-back, but he saw off that challenge to nail that left-back position. And that is what they'll have to do, but unfortunately that's the problem, is when they get in advanced areas, if the boys in central midfield lose that ball, they won't be able to recover, and they are so vulnerable then.
Eriksen's corner. That's an easy one from Casilla to come and have a punch at, under no pressure. Didn't fancy catching it, he might have done so, I suppose. Keylor Navas, incidentally, on the bench today for Real Madrid. On by Dembele for Tottenham. Dyer finds Rose this time. Alderweireld. Up backward by Wimmer. And of course Vorm does know how quick over the ground Bale can be. He doesn't want to take too many liberties.
He's one goalkeeper can look after the ball, though, to be fair to Vorm. He's very comfortable, very much a modern-day goalkeeper.
Dembele looking a little bit stop-start in the middle of the park here early on for Tottenham.
Yeah, he played in an MLS game recently for Tottenham. He played on the right side.
And again, it's given away in that area, this time by Lamela, way too carelessly.
This just shows the quality now, the pace that Real Madrid have got on the counter-attack. And Benitez has said a lot about Bale, that he loves to attack space, and you wouldn't normally associate that for the 10 role, but if Benzema's moving the centre-backs around and suddenly Bale is running up against a holding midfielder, there's no one in the world who's going to stay with his power and pace.
Way too much for Walker to do with that one. Sure, awfully easy for Marcello, but he did keep it in play. Turned back by Varane. It is Danilo at right back today for Real Madrid, with Varane and Ramos paired in the middle by Benitez. Cruz now looking for him, Danilo. Signed him with some fanfare from Porto. I think you are an admirer, Gary.
I like him, I know there's power and pace, but if you're trying to look at Real Madrid and why they didn't achieve what they wanted to last year, was it necessarily a right back that was the problem? I'm not convinced. I like Carvajal, I like him playing in there. I've seen Danilo play, obviously a great athlete. It'd be interesting to see Jose coach with the pressure playing for such a big club like Real Madrid. But if I had to identify one key position for Real Madrid, the goalkeeping one is key for me. That would make the big difference. It could be the difference between being runners-up or being champions.
Following the departure of one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I mean, he's a magnificent server. He broke my heart, of course, in 2002 in the World Cup, his penalty saves, but been a lot of talk about how he was treated at Real Madrid. Didn't quite get the fanfare that he wanted to when he departs, but when you leave a club, it never ends particularly well, otherwise it wouldn't.
Still moved to tears, wasn't he, when he made his address to the support, notably to the support, and to the people working behind the scenes at the club, the people who give their lives to a football club like Real Madrid.
Of course. I mean, he was an iconic figure, but even those who loved him and admired him for so long were doubting his ability, his capability at that level anymore.
The timing. Tottenham looking to get into a little bit of a flow. Ali did well. Eriksen. Always so hard to gauge where they are physically, of course, in the days before the league campaign gets underway. Any early impressions, Gary?
Well, for Tottenham, it was quite strange their pre-season because they didn't play particularly that many games. I think normally you're looking to play between 5 to 7 games and guys will build their fitness up, but Tottenham have played very few. I think the manager, Pochettino, has took the opportunity to do a lot of training, bed in the new young guys like Ali, as we've seen here, and it'd be interesting to see just how well they cope, because this is a guy who has got the physique, the athleticism to certainly cope in the Premier League, and it'd be interesting to see just whether or not he's got the mindset and the desire to make sure that it happens.
It'll be interesting to learn in the coming months whether there are people at Tottenham who believe he could become the next Gareth Bale. Benitez gets involved on the touchline for the first time.
I think to compare him with Bale would be, you know, obviously great young talents when they first come in.
But that's the problem when they come in, you know, because of what's happened with a player like
that. No, of course, but I think even Gareth Bale didn't set the world alight when he first came into Tottenham, really struggled to the point that he was potentially going to be sold and moved on, but got his opportunity through injuries, and boy did he take it. Look at the player he's now. So I think that's important for all Tottenham young players now. There's an opportunity under this manager. The likes of Mason effectively has come from nowhere really to cement his place not only in Tottenham's midfield but even get into international squads. So all these young players, they have a wonderful opportunity under this manager.
Bentaleb is on the bench today, you might say the same about him.
Yeah, he was brilliant alongside Mason in the central midfield for Tottenham. And I think these young guys had to come through because there was a lot of players on a lot of money who Pochettino didn't want. But if you discard them, bearing in mind the financial money they've costing you, you can't just leave them there. You have to replace them, and he has. Suddenly the likes of Kane have come from nowhere, really, to become a marquee player for their club. Mason as well. So that buys him a bit of time, not only with supporters, but certainly with the chairman.
And farewells, just in case you've been away, not been able to follow all the ins and outs, farewells for Asuo Koto. That was well flagged, wasn't it, toward the end of last season. Paulinho, Holtby, Capu, Kabul, Stambouli, oh, well hit. And Casilla got down to it sharply.
Yeah, those guys have been moved on, and more often than not, they were centre-backs who had their chances, but just were not producing what Pochettino wanted.
And one more to add to the list, of course, Kiriches, who's gone to Napoli. So it's a thinner squad. Echoing your point, there's room for the youngsters to develop now. Not that Pochettino would say they weren't my players in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about these. The majority of them guys were the guys who were bought with the Bale money. And how many of them would you say has been a success? I'd say arguably the best one has been Eriksen, but not many after that.
Here is the aforementioned Dane, Eriksen. Alderweireld. Trademark turn by Dembele. Lamela again beaten to it. I think we're going to come back for the little pull back on Dembele, actually.
You wonder if he can become more of a key player this season, Dembele. Obviously, I know we talked about the guys being brilliant in central midfield, but these guys are real talent, and we saw it there. You can just beat people at ease.
Very nearly Mitchell Vaughan beaten inside the first 5 minutes today. No way through for Rose. Stopped forcibly by Danilo. A reminder, this is the first of 2 games this evening and the first day of the Audi Cup, with Bayern, our hosts, set to meet Milan later. Great double-header. And then the 2 successful sides today will meet in the final tomorrow. Ramos, Marcello. This time it was Hamas making that run forward.
That's a classic Real Madrid run, isn't it? We've seen Ronaldo do that so many times, that out from in run, because obviously as a centre-back you're so preoccupied looking after the main striker and in Bale at 10 that if you don't look off your shoulders, they'll punish you with them runs from out to in.
Well, that wasn't awfully far away from this angle. I'm not sure if we get a reverse angle whether James' shot was actually going to trouble Vaughan, much as he was troubled a few moments ago, but we all know what he can do. And of course that was the one against the bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a Hesse strike there, but James has got a great strike. He's got a wonderful free kick in pre-season against Inter Milan, just bent it straight into the top corner. So it'll be interesting to see how they work those front 4, who plays where. If Bale plays at 10, then you wonder where the roles are now for Isco and people like that. Because if you're saying about Isco playing wide right, or James wide right, Isco certainly doesn't have the legs to do it. He's probably the type of guy you would associate to play at 10, but Bale looks like he's got that position. And if you look at Benitez's, the way he plays, he's very defensive-minded. He makes sure that the shape's right. So it might even be, as incredible as it is to say, that whoever plays at 10, it will be whoever's the best working in the team defensively.
It would certainly mark a change from the Galactico period, that is for certain.
We know something about Benitez. We know every day his team will do shape,
Absolutely.
shape.
Others have tried, of course.
Exactly. Easier said than done. It really is, especially when you've got people like Ronaldo. If you've got a guy who's scoring as many goals as him, he's going to turn around and think, what, you want me running back nearly to left back?
Some say even Jose Mourinho called it a truce in the end.
Incredible. But man, this is a guy who has scored over 50 goals for 5 seasons in a trot. I mean, he is an unbelievable player.
And what about the backup class? Of course, not in action today, but Benzema, who they say Real Madrid are telling us that he is not going anywhere, Benzema.
Who would you replace him with if you did sell him? Who is out there who could cope with playing and centre forward at Real Madrid at the moment? I know there's a lot of talk about Aguero, and we know what a fantastic player he is. I certainly think he could do a job, but you don't let people like Benzema go very easily.
Hesse just getting the wrong side.
Interesting to see if Hesse plays more this season. There was a criticism against Ancelotti that he didn't feature that often, but people don't realise and seem to forget that he came back from a cruciate injury. Now that takes time. I don't care, even if you're fit, it still takes 7-8 months to get back to the real sharpness that you had prior to the injury.
16 appearances for him last season. But new manager comes in, it's your opportunity.
That's what pre-season's all about. I mean, if you're playing left wing tonight for Real Madrid, it's not a great position because you know who's ahead of you, but nevertheless, it's an opportunity, and like all the Tottenham young players will be doing, they'll be looking at what happened for Gareth Bale. He had his opportunity at Tottenham, and look what followed.
Again, it's over Walker's head, and he's not having the best of luck, is he? As he edges forward to try to get on the end of these.
He'll have to have a strong game. Walker again. There's a new signing, Trippier, who had a really good season in the relegation Burnley team last year, but this is a guy who gets forward all the time, puts quality crosses in, and I think if you're someone like Harry Kane, you'll be looking for the type of deliveries that he can put in, so Walker will need to be strong to make sure he can see off that threat.
You'd have to say, I suppose, Gary, through the first 20-odd minutes in this game, that it is Real Madrid who've kept the ball slightly better.
I think you'd expect that. I think Pochettino will probably say to his Tottenham players, it's about shape, keeping good discipline. We're going our way to Manchester United on Saturday. You know, it might become quite similar. So it's all about how well they get their distances as units between the midfield, the defence, how narrow they are, not easy to play through like they have been at times last season.
James got turned and found a yard. Skipped away from Dyer quite easily, actually. Bale got crowded out of it. Token appeal for a free kick, and now Walker drives on. We know he can run. Couldn't use the ball, though, unfortunately, with Kane in space to his right.
Listen, he's a wonderful athlete, there's no doubt about that, and his attacking threat is there for all to see, but it's his defensive threat is at the problem. Consistently, continually caught out of position. And if you're playing right centre-back and he's nowhere to be seen when he's supposed to be in certain areas, you're going to be vulnerable.
Isco checked out left in the end, and Marcello made himself available. Gareth Bale. Marcello went over. Referee thought about playing the advantage, I think, and then none really accruing, gives Real the free kick. Another player written off time and time again, but he keeps coming back for more, and he keeps on making big impacts in big games.
Yeah, he's done fantastic. I think he signed a new contract as well in the summer, and he has seen off the threats of like Contral, people like that. And he's been brilliant, and I really like him. There's real tenacity in his offensive play, no doubt about it, but he defends, he sticks his head in where it hurts, he defends, he's good 1v1. That's an example of Bale playing at 10. It's not exactly what you think of. With your back to goal, you're able to play for both sides. We know about his power pace running into space, but if Real Madrid want a playmaker, they need to get the whole team up there so that they've got the likes of Kroos and Modric within range of the opposition goal.
Off Dembele, I think. Marcello winning the throw. warm and clammy evening in Munich.
I think both teams will be used to it on their travels this pre-season. They've been all over the world in all types of climate and humidity. And I think that's a modern-day footballer now. You have to get used to playing for it. If you're a player playing at a top club, you'll be playing international football anyway.
It's not as though they're travelling third class either, Gary.
No, they'll want for nothing on their travels, I can assure you. This is an example of what Pochettino likes. It's two centre-backs to split, full-backs high. That deep midfielder gives the first pass option. If you can't get it, rotate with the other midfielder. They do this. I've seen this training session with Pochettino very often. He's really, really good at it.
Not the best of touches, unfortunately, by Eriksson, who in the main has looked to be the one to animate Tottenham's performance so far in this friendly. That's sloppy in turn by Real Madrid. Now Dyer. On by Harry Kane. Taken off him quite effectively, powerfully by Varane.
So quick, Varane. He's sharp all over, young centre-back with a real big future ahead of him.
Marcello. Do you think Tottenham fans would have expected to see some attempt to bring in another front man by this stage of pre-season?
I think they would have thought something would happen. I think they'll be mindful that the window is still open, but like Tottenham, we've seen that Tottenham throughout the years have done all their business late on, whether it's sold people or got them in late, and you don't give the manager time to work with them. When you're talking about someone like Harry Kane, what a wonderful season, but what's his support? If anything was happened to Harry Kane, he seems to have played non-stop football since he broke into the team early last season. He's been away with England under-21s. He played for Tottenham in Australia. Great play there by Ali again. That's an example of his quality.
Gets Tottenham on the charge forward. Just got stuck under Rose's feet. The pitch is a little bit slow, perhaps. Understandable, you know, early weeks of the new season, the grounds will want to protect it.
I'm smiling there.
Yes,
the
I can see.
groundsmen, I used to have absolute arguments all the time with them, but they want to protect their pitch.
I was with Glenn Hoddle. If you're going to drop a name, drop a proper name. I was with Glenn Hoddle at Wembley on Sunday for the Community Shield. First thing he said after 5 minutes, pitch is playing very slow.
What a player he was for Tottenham, my God. He could put the pass anywhere you wanted on the pitch.
Tottenham have to get their shape right here. There's a good little step out, actually, by Wimmer. Did well then.
I think Tottenham players are interested to see how he copes, Wimmer. Obviously, Vertonghen is the main left-sided centre-back, but this guy could provide a bit of cover, back up, or even make a play for this place himself. I think there's opportunities for all these young players if they take it.
Didn't really trouble Danilo then, Dele Alli. But you, of course, you featured against him last season, didn't you, Gary, in League One when you were working up Peterborough with Darren Ferguson?
Yes, I know him well, Dele Alli, and it was always difficult to stop him. Real athlete, bit of skills there, has an eye for a goal, and I thought when they signed him, Tottenham, I thought that's a really good signing. It's in keeping with what Tottenham supporters want. A player who can look after the ball, an athlete who can run with the ball. I think they'll be pleased to see how this young man develops.
Great test for him today, isn't it? And Dyer gets the better of Gareth Bale. That will make him feel a little bit better
Just
also.
seeing again that 10 role. A top-class number 10 who can play off of both sides would have took that away from Dyer to begin with. So Gareth Bale, as great as he is, still has a lot to learn about this position.
Alderweireld feeds it to Walker nice and early. Lamena's ball again was just a little bit slack, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a bit rusty. He joined up with the squad later than the rest of them, so obviously taking a bit of time to get into it.
Isco. Walker made up the yards and got enough of the ball. Referee happy to stop it.
That's Carl Walker in a nutshell. Great recovery defender using his power and pace. But when he comes up against the top players, Isco's not the quickest, but any of the other Real Madrid players, he wouldn't have had the chance to recover.
Dembele.
And you see the Pochettino style again, that central midfielder dropping in to make that extra defender getting on the ball.
Dyer found Eriksson behind Lamela, and Dembele got close enough to Toni Kroos.
Tottenham find it hard to get into that area behind Kroos and Modric. And you look at those two central midfielders for Real Madrid, they're not the most athletic, they're not physical presence, but they read the game so well.
Yes, indeed they do. Pace in this breakout by Real Madrid. Dembele again. Square rather than forward. Harry Kane.
There's your classic Real Madrid shape from Benitez, your 4-4-1-1. How quickly them players get into them positions will be the difference between stopping the opposition and getting chances, because if you look at Real Madrid, their failings last year, they comfortably beat all the people, the lesser teams, but struggled against their main rivals. Took only 4 points out against their 3 teams around them, which is incredible really, bearing in mind that they only lost the title by 2 points. So you know the difference, you know what they got to improve on, they got to be harder to beat. Even over the 2 legs against Juventus, they couldn't see that through.
Yes, fine margins at that absolute top level, but it makes all the difference to a Real Madrid season. And in some, it fell short of the standards required of Ancelotti. Lost in La Liga to Atletico and Real Sociedad early on, even though they'd won the Super Cup in the early weeks of last season against Sevilla. Then they recovered brilliantly, won 22 games in a row up to New Year, including the FIFA World Club Cup, of course. And then the jitters started again. They lost the first league game following the Christmas break against Valencia. Lost to Atletico in January in the Copa del Rey.
Well, it was their head-to-heads against them 2 particular teams that cost them.
Absolutely.
I mean, Atletico beat them home and away in the league. Valencia weren't beaten over the 2 games.
And essentially, while Real wilted, Barcelona got stronger.
Using all his experience, got nowhere to go, just feels the contact and goes down. What a silly foul. And if anything these young players are going to learn from the Tottenham squad is things like this. They're going to play in regular European games,
Absolutely
internationals.
not.
They have to learn, and they have to learn that quickly.
I think it's fair to say Walker should know better by now.
He doesn't seem to learn.
James' free kick was a good one, and it's just gone the right side of the post if you're Tottenham Hotspur. Gareth Bale got quite a firm forehead to that.
That was an opportunity. You don't want to allow, even Real Madrid, as slick passing as they are a real threat from corners with the likes of Ramos, Bale, Ronaldo when he's here. Ronaldo, out of all his goals last, 17 headed goals. That is incredible. That's just, I mean, he heads the ball like a centre-back. It's amazing.
Switch by Kane. Dembele at the stretch. Have a look at the movement off the ball here and tell us what you see from Tottenham's point of view, Gary.
Well, I think it's very difficult. What I can see straight away is the 2 banks of 4 for Real Madrid. They're trying to spray the balls out wide and trying to create a bit of space by doing so, but they keep overhitting balls. But that happens in pre-season games. I think some of the Tottenham supporters will obviously be a bit worried that, you know, we're less than a week away for the first game of the season, but it comes back very quickly to you.
Great early chance created by Walker today, squandered by Lamela, in case you're just coming in, joining us. And snapshot by Eriksson right down the middle of the goal, which Casilla got down to quite sharply. Those are the only 2 real goal threats from Tottenham Hotspur. But it is 0-0, and we're through 30 minutes. At the feet of Bale, and on the turn this time, Walker. Didn't get the strong head he looked for. Bale again. Isco. Lamela doing his best to man up.
And we talked about Marcelo enjoying putting his foot in. He certainly got the opportunity against his South American rival there.
Yes, almost as though they had 1 or 2 comings together previous to this. Of course, Argentina got the better of Brazil in terms of progress in the Copa America in the summer. Brazil with an early exit against Paraguay. Argentina confounded in the final by Alexis Sanchez and the host nation Chile. Actually only started one game, Lamella, during the tournament.
But even being around those type of players should have done his confidence a world of good. And if he's been in the Premier League, he knows what it's all about now, would expect certainly that he shows the type of form that made Tottenham pay such a huge figure for him.
Bale was almost in there and just about held the line. Real Madrid looking the more likely, I think that's fair to say. And in general play, the more purposeful. Isco to Modric. Switch by Isco. A bit slow to get it under control, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's surprising. He scored a wonderful goal against Inter Milan, similar to that. The ball chipped to the back post. Great first touch, early shot, beat the keeper before he even knew it. He has real ability, Jose. That's unlike him there.
James Rodriguez over the corner. Modric. Easy enough for Vorm.
What you want to see in these pre-season games is set pieces being dealt with that they've worked on, because even when they played the MLS team, Tottenham, they conceded a dreadful goal from a corner, a penalty needlessly given away, and they looked at like slightly at 6s and 7s, and you probably think that they need that dominant man at centre-back. Even the fact that Harry Kane is captain is surprising. Lloris obviously is a big miss, he's a really focal player, but Vorm's a good goalkeeper. But you just need that dominant centre-back who moves people about to make sure you don't concede from set pieces.
Lloris, we understand, is back in training. Eriksson. Again, that's way too easy for Casilla. Former Espanyol keeper. They paid 6 million to bring him in. Great deal more than that to bring that fellow in, of course. But one or two spies in Spain tell us the boy has earned his chance at a top club in Spain.
Well, if he's done all his hard work elsewhere and he can cope with it, sometimes when you come to these big clubs, it's not just about ability, I would say. It's about your mindset. Can you cope with the intensity that you have to win every week? It's all well and good saying, listen, oh, we won 3 out of 4, but that's not good enough at Real Madrid. You have to win every single week.
There are some Tottenham fans in the Allianz Arena, they're beginning to make themselves heard a little bit. They've not had a lot to cheer about, in all honesty. James went over. Never less than full commitment from Danny Rose, even if he was distracted slightly by the headlines this morning about this potential interest from Chelsea.
Well, if you're doing something right if other clubs are coming looking for you, and I think after last season, I'm not surprised. Sunderland thought very highly of him when he was up there on loan. They thought he was a very, very good player. Tried desperately to get him, but Tottenham brought him back.
Modric is going to hit this, Gary. The deflection is just turned away by Vorm in the end. Just.
Good
Awful
save.
lot of room that Modric got here.
There was. They got him behind the midfield there. And Modric, Tottenham will know him very well. But what a recovery from Vorm. Not the biggest goalkeeper in the world, but has very good agility. And he used every bit of it there to scramble back and touch it past.
I think it was off Wimmer. Now, I wonder whether that would have unfortunately gone down as an own goal ultimately. Such a big deflection, was it? Wouldn't be how he'd dream of making his European bow for Tottenham.
Oh, he'd have been unlucky. He's thrown himself in front of that shot, and to see it go in would have been awful.
Modric again, pulling the strings. Ramos to Marcelo. Eriksson tried to close him down. It's fed through to Gareth Bale. Sideways to Isco. Low centre of gravity. It's a nice looking ball. Superb goal. How well worked was that? And Real Madrid through James Rodriguez have gone in front here on 35 minutes.
Good goal there. We said about Rodriguez attacking from wide, coming in to get on the end of the cross. But Tottenham will be very disappointed with that. For someone like James Rodriguez to come in and be beating your big centre-halves in the air is not something that bodes well for Tottenham this season, sorry.
And I have to say, I think it's been coming, really. Fairly constant domination of the ball from Real Madrid, finding loads of space. And yes, Spurs should be doing better when it comes in here, that's right, Gary, but they've had a lot of spaces to try to block up in the last 10-15 minutes.
But that's Danny Rose there, and even the guy at centre-back is not the centre-back, it's the centre midfielder. So I'm asking, where is Wimmer? Where is Alderweireld there?
Wimmer got drawn to the ball, didn't he, a long way out, and that is another, if you don't mind me saying, another old Tottenham failing from last season, the centre-backs getting drawn out of position like that.
You must adjust your body. As soon as that guy comes back onto his right foot, you know the cross is coming in. Open up, or if you have a centre-half squeeze up with him and leave that guy offside.
Can they hit back quickly, Tottenham? Down the side by Dembele. Lamela. Shown a willingness to give these youngsters the chance today. Pochettino, Dyer and Dele Alli. All learning experience, of course. Here is Ali. I think he's shown up quite well when he's had the opportunity to get on the ball.
Yeah, he has. It's just sometimes it's frustrating, but that's part of your learning curve. You're against a team like Real Madrid, you're not going to see the ball all the time. So you've got to be disciplined in your positional play, reading the situation, and when you do get the ball, you've got to look after it. But going back to the goal, it'd be so frustrating there, the manager looking at that, because as much as Real Madrid are wonderful on the ball, they haven't done much to score a goal there.
Kevin Wimmer came in from Cologne. He's actually Austrian rather than German, but he only actually, Gary, played one full season in the top flight in Germany because they were a promoted club last season, Cologne. Came up with them from the second Bundesliga the season before. It seems quite a leap of faith, in all honesty. You know, I don't think anybody who watches the Bundesliga would say he was one of the standout defenders in the league there last season in Germany.
I think a lot of people at Cologne are saying that he developed so quickly, though, and that the potential was there to go on to another level. Obviously, Pochettino has seen that and wants to play a big part on making sure that he can do it at Tottenham. So there's a wonderful opportunity for him. But as with any centre-half partnership, it takes time to get an understanding together, and certainly the goal that Real Madrid just scored suggests that it's not quite there yet.
And what should we read into the fact Vertonghen is on the bench today?
I'd probably read into the fact that they've got their first game of the season on Saturday, and the priority is probably there. Maybe he might have a slight knock or something like that, but I'll be certain that he'd start on Saturday.
As a centre-back, not as a left-back?
No, centre-back, certainly.
Another look at the goal, tucked home nicely by Rodriguez. James Rodriguez, but where were the defenders?
There's too much space. Suddenly, James Rodriguez sees that opening and he thinks, oh, I'll just run into it. That's too easy. If he's making an out-to-in run, you're looking for Danny Rose to block him, to stop him getting across the front of him. You're certainly looking for that centre-half to open his shoulder up and see the run.
Would it be fair to say Tottenham do look quite easy to play against in this game?
I think Real Madrid sometimes make it look like that. I think they do that to the majority of teams.
Here's Rose.
But as we said there, there's a few new guys in there. They've got an understanding between them to develop, an understanding of how the manager wants them to play. So it's still a learning curve. Don't forget there'll be more experienced players due to coming back in for Tottenham on Saturday, the likes of Mason, Bentaleb, so I'd expect them guys to come in, and they know each other well from last year.
Nasser Chadley's also on the bench. Of course, the defender we didn't mention was Fazio.
Yeah, he was a signing from Pochettino last year. Obviously, exercised the buyout clause from Seville, and a real physical presence back there, but I'm not quite sure if he has the mobility needed to play in a Pochettino side, because when them centre-halves split, there's a hell of a long run back to the halfway line to get back into your positions once the ball's been played forward.
I suppose it is a case really at Tottenham that too many of the big marquee or so-called big name signings of the last 2 or 3 years have just not really nailed it down when they've arrived.
Well, I think that's what's so impressive about Pochettino. It doesn't matter about what you cost. Obviously, he hasn't got away the burden of being the one who spent that money on them players. But if you're not doing what he asks of you, you don't play. And if a young boy is prepared to do it, he will play. So that's a lesson for all the squad, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes, it's the individual level reached by the likes of Harry Kane and Ryan Mason last season, illuminating Tottenham's campaign.
It would have been wonderful what happened with those two guys. I mean, even the most knowledgeable Tottenham fan probably wouldn't have foreseen that they go on to play as well as they did.
Alderweireld to Dyer. Eriksson, nice turn from him. Rose well forward. Lamela made tracks for the penalty spot. Be nice if Tottenham could strike back before the break here. Been the better part of half an hour since they've really made Casilla do any work. Eriksson just rolls it sideways to Dembele. Onto Lamela again.
I think we're seeing a bit of Benitez's work there straight away for Real Madrid. It's not something you usually associate with them, but look how many people there, and then they've got the pace to counter-attack like this.
Spurs have been forewarned in this game. Hooked in by Hesse. Bale's misdirected header.
There's certainly been a pattern of Real Madrid's play throughout pre-season, that they defend deep, they get the banks of four all set up, and then if they do have a quick turnover, they're looking to hit balls in behind for the pace of the guys they have.
Harry Kane just offside. Dele Alli saw the opportunity to feed it forward then. Ramos doing the policeman act on the edge of the centre circle.
That's what we're saying about the goal that Real Madrid scored. If a guy makes a run, an early run, just let him go. You've got to read whether or not that ball can be played, and Ramos, so experienced, knew that it couldn't be in keeping with the run that was made. Just let him go offside. Ramis
stopped in his tracks, but at the expense of a free kick. I think it was Eric Dyer who slid in. We do expect several changes at the break, incidentally. Real Madrid have arrived mob-handed here with 26 players.
Obviously, we know the household names so well, but the next line of boys that come in are so talented. It's so frustrating, must be. But, you know, we're talking about the world's greatest players potentially ahead of them in the likes of Ronaldo.
And on what he produced last year, Benzema not far behind.
Benzema plays that role so well in this system for Real Madrid, a real top draw centre forward.
Ramos. Modric certainly pulled back by Lamela. Showed his class then, didn't he?
That'll be something that Pochettino will look at for the Tottenham team.
It must hurt Tottenham fans actually, Gary, to watch this. You know, Modric,
Bale,
sensational for a year or two under Harry Redknapp. Gareth Bale, both playing for the opposition here.
Well, you can only look back to them days and think how wonderful it was. They were total free-flowing football, but because they were so good, the giants of the rest of the world came looking for them. And Modric has been magnificent for Real Madrid. Struggled to begin with, but a lot of people think that the fact that he missed the last 9 games of last season was the main point in why they didn't win the league and didn't go all the way in the Champions League.
Right on half-time, we are going to head for the dressing rooms here. No need for any of this, of course, but Lamela just told off by Sergio Ramos. Don't you know who I am? OK, well, thank you very much to Gary Breen for his contribution during the first half. James Rodriguez's goal puts Real Madrid 1-0 up against Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs, a couple of bright moments early on, but in the main, it's been a case of trying to contain a very, very talented Real lineup, even without Ronaldo and Benzema. And Welcome back to the Allianz Arena, everybody. Tottenham Hotspur first into action in this mini-tournament this evening against Real Madrid. And quite unfortunate, Gary Breen, not to be in front inside the first couple of minutes. Kyle Walker made the charge down the right-hand side, and Eric Lamela really should be doing better with that.
He's done so well here, Walker. A lot of composure, waited for the proper space to open up, and it's the perfect pass into him. He should be scoring there.
Real settling into this familiar rhythm, even without Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema in this game. Hesse at the front of their attacking trident, starting out tonight and very nearly catching out Michael Vorm, of course, in with Hugo Lloris still recovering from his arm injury from last season, getting an extended run-in goal. And Dyer, Eric Dyer, in an unlikely-looking midfield combination, struggling once or twice early on, I have to say. Vorm redeeming himself a little bit with that. But as the game settled down, Real Madrid becoming more and more dominant. And the threat posed by the Hesse.
So good in those tight areas that he's able to move the ball and get his shot off early like he did when he hit the crossbar. Really, really good play.
Much like the absent Benzema, of course. Rare response from Tottenham as Christian Eriksen worked his way into space. And the new goalkeeper, Kiko Casilla, getting down sharply.
Talked about inexperience here again, just giving away a needless free kick there. And the ball comes in and Bale really attacked it well. And it just shows that the Spurs are not quite where they should be on set pieces.
And by this point, past the half-hour mark, it was very much a case of Real Madrid being in control of the ball and the territory, and a sense that the goal was on its way. Modric allowed too much room. The deflection off Kevin Wimmer almost working its way past Vorm, and it might have gone down as an own goal ultimately for the new man.
He's done so well there, Vorm, but they would be disappointed, Tottenham, that it ended up being Eriksen who closed down Modric there. That's not acceptable. The central midfielder should be doing that.
So the cracks were beginning to show by the 35th minute. And Real, let's remember, we've been playing more games pre-season than Tottenham, and certainly looking it in this game.
A great example of Danny Rose staying with a run of James Rodriguez there, but then in the second phase of it, when the cross comes in, he just doesn't, and allows him to get in. And it's a great finish, but you don't expect someone of James Rodriguez's stature to be beating you in the central area of the goal. Either the goalkeeper or centre-half should be dealing with that.
So Benitez, the new man in charge, getting a fair old song out of his team, even without his main attacking threat, and James Rodriguez applying the...
Far too much space in that central area. Danny Rose, if he can't deal with the header, should just be taking Rodriguez under the ball and letting the ball go through to the goalkeeper.
But a sense that that goal had been coming from Real Madrid.
It does, because when you're playing against a team like Real Madrid, they continue jabbing you, waiting for that opening, and it's hard. And this is what these young players have to learn. The concentration levels, just as much as the ability on the ball, are so key.
Welcome back, everybody. 45 minutes to play in this opener in the Audi Cup here in the Allianz Arena. Tottenham Hotspur are trailing Real Madrid by 1-0. It might have been worse, in all honesty. Certainly the bulk of the chances for Real. James Rodriguez's goal separates the sides. And it looks as though the first couple of changes are going to be made here. We were led to believe there would be several, and I do believe, Gary, it could be Bentaleb who's coming out here.
It was interesting to see him talking to Dele Alli there, because obviously he'll slot on him alongside him. Whether or not Dyer's gone off now, we'll just see. But that's good. You want to see your first-team central midfielders helping his young boy along, talking to him. There's Casemiro coming on for Real Madrid. Now, this is a guy I'd be interested in. We're talking about a central midfielder who Real Madrid let go, but then exercised their buyback option to bring him back. I've seen him play a lot this pre-season, and although he has talent, I'm not convinced he's at the level that's required for that central midfield area to challenge the likes of Modric and Kroos. Vasquez as well, looks like he's coming on. A really good player. But again, a top player. But when you're talking about playing left wing, you've got the man Ronaldo ahead of you, so it's so difficult. But he was a guy who had a really good season at Espanyol last year and he's been brought back again to see if he can challenge Modric. So key to this Real Madrid side. Marcelo, give him a cuddle just to make sure that he realises it.
Excellent against his former club. First half, Luka Modric pulling the strings for Real Madrid. So we got two former Porto players out there for Real. They came together, and two also coming in from Espanyol. Not that it was a squad, Real Madrid, that needed a major overhaul as Benitez took charge.
That's the interesting thing. If you are a supporter of Real Madrid, you say, where can you improve this team? You know, you've given the players to the manager and said, OK, now go and win what we need to win, the Champions League, the domestic title. Obviously, the players are there to do it, so if they don't do it, unfortunately, the likes of Ancelotti has to pay the price, which is incredible because he's a wonderful manager. Now it's Benitez's turn. Can he be different? He'll certainly be different in terms of how he works the players. Ancelotti was very, very popular among the players. I'm not sure Benitez will be the same.
I think that's the most accurate prediction I've heard all through pre-season, actually, Gary. And he won't mind a bit. It's not his way, is it? No,
I'm sure the defensive players will love it. Shape every day, making sure you're hard to beat. The offensive players, not so.
Toni Kroos has gone off at half-time for Real Madrid.
Casemiro come on now. You'll see, adds a physical presence in there. I'm not quite sure he's up to fitness levels yet. Seen him playing against the two Milan clubs, and he struggled at times, especially against their new big money signing from Monaco, who Don Zogbio gave him a real tough time.
First half goal scorer James Rodriguez also withdrawn, and remember the sides play again tomorrow. The winner of this one to meet the winner of the latter game today between our host Bayern Munich and Milan. We understand, incidentally, reports from Italy suggesting that Milan's marquee signing might be Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And that certainly would energise the Milan support, wouldn't it?
No doubt about it. This is a guy, whoever he goes, wins the title. Not someone who in England we think that much of incredibly, but his record is fantastic, and he's a wonderful, wonderful player.
Ali gives it to Eriksson. He's certainly not looked out of place on this grand stage, the teenager from MK Dons, Dele Alli, has he, Gary?
No, because ultimately the first thing you look about when players make that step up is, can they cope physically? Are they able, do they have that athleticism to move about? When he's top players, you don't realise till you come up against them how quickly they can turn the ball from one side to the other, and he can deal with it, there's no doubt about that. And surely playing against the likes of these and acquitting himself well will do his confidence the world of good.
So Chadley also out there for Tottenham.
Looking after the ball quite well there, but it seems that final pass when they look to switch play, they've overhit 3 or 4 at this stage now, which is so frustrating because you're getting a good rhythm going and suddenly you need to give the ball back to Real Madrid. We have said about would Vertonghen come on, and he's starting the second half now, so that bit more experience might help. You can see him now moving people about, and that's what you need at centre-back. Sometimes it's not necessarily about what you do, but it's how you influence those around you.
I think our German TV colleagues are just struggling to cope with the rush here in terms of the substitutions from Tottenham's point of view, but I think with your help, Gary, thank you very much, we've been able to point out the main ones. Well, certainly Vertonghen, Chadley. Bentaleb also out there and on the ball here. You've just got to do this, of course, if you're Pochettino, with Manchester United on the horizon on Saturday lunchtime.
This close to your first game of the season, you wouldn't be looking for any of the lads to play 94 minutes, so expect more changes, certainly. That's always a worry when you see someone catering into Harry Kane. That's the last thing Tottenham need, is him to get injured, but this is a good run out against top players.
Bentaleb, one of those who made such a good impression last season. You never quite know, of course, the infamous second season syndrome, Gary, how it's all going to go for him, but nothing wrong with what he produced first time round.
No, he certainly excelled under Pochettino. You see the system again there. Whoever plays that deep line midfielder will often come back and play the centre-half role to get on the ball. Two centre-half split. Now you're looking for that pass forward. The centre midfielder, the second one will pull off to create a bit of space centrally. And it works. Look, they get comfortable possession. It's difficult to mark.
Dembele over-embroidered that a little bit. Might get a second stab at it.
That's the thing. If you do play this expansive way that Pochettino likes to do, you have to look after that football. You cannot give it away cheaply because you're open. You're far too open on the counter-attack.
Alderweireld to Bentaleb. Vertonghen. Danny Rose, one of those who has stayed out there for the second half. Chadley gets on it. I think Spurs fans watching with us would just like to see a little bit more intensity in their play here, second half. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'm sure it is that what they're looking to. But it's hard. Look at the banks of four that Real Madrid have got. You can see the work Benitez is doing. It's not easy to break them down. And you coupled with the fact that you've got top centre halves who can read situations.
Kane makes a little bit of impact there. Harry Kane gets Spurs the corner.
What a season lined up for Harry Kane again. Can he produce what he did last year? It's absolutely amazing.
31 goals in all competitions. That's
incredible.
Going to be so hard to match. Eriksen with it. Wasn't a bad one, actually, and no sign that Casilla wanted to come through the crowd and try to get something on it. Helped on its way clear by Bale.
The support act alongside Harry Kane have got to produce more. You know, we need more goals from the likes of Eriksen. I know he got some goals last year from, but the other two guys out wide, Chadley, Lamela, they have to start being a goal threat to create more space for Harry Kane, because in your first season it's a bit unknown. Defenders don't quite know how to work you out, but with one thing the Premier League does, it works people out very quickly.
A very unforgiving place, absolutely. Sergio Ramos. Casemiro gets a touch. Not the best ball to Varane, actually, by Ramos. Can Spurs pounce on that? Possibilities here. Eriksen hits it, it's always rising. Just came to him a bit too sharp, didn't it?
But it's good to see him getting in support, because he can finish from that area. We know that. He had the shot in the first half. Dele Alli again getting advanced position. Just sat up a little bit for Eriksen. He'd be disappointed because he certainly has the ability to score from there.
He's the 11th manager in 15 years that Tottenham Hotspur have had. And when you think over that 15-year period, Harry Redknapp actually occupied the chair for 4 years. That's another element to life at Tottenham that surely the club's hierarchy needs to address. Yes, stability.
Exactly. I don't think it's a recipe for success, but I think there's something different about Pochettino. If you speak to the experienced players at Tottenham, the likes of Brad Friedel, who's just left, he says this guy's the real deal, has real presence there, and I know from the guys at Southampton who worked with him, they were so impressed with him. I really think this guy's a top manager, or certainly has the potential to become one. It's just whether or not he can do enough to improve on the 5th place for Tottenham of last year, which will be difficult because obviously the teams in and around him are spending big money, but he's going about it a different way, bedding these young players, and they've served him well up to this point.
Well, the test is going to be another factor in it, I think, over the next 2-3 years, surely, will be the stadium redevelopment. That is bound to impact on the latitude that the manager of the team is going to have.
Of
it's
course.
bound to. You've got to be careful.
Exactly. We know, we've seen it just across the town with Arsenal, and how frugal they had to be with their money as their stadium was being built, and they're going to have to be the same. But perhaps that's why these young players are getting a chance earlier than they normally would do before. But let's not forget that Tottenham is a hotbed of footballing talent. These boys get the young players when they want to. I know it's worldwide now.
Getting a bit hot-headed over in that far corner, on the halfway line at least.
Although this is a pre-season, I think this is quite understandable. If you see a player making a tough tackle it's not acceptable, not when the season's about to start. I think it's an unwritten rule between players. Yes, we're competitive, yes, we'll tackle hard, but if it's a sneaky one, your teammates are straight over, and rightly so.
Couldn't agree more, Gary. First yellow. A likely candidate, wasn't he, I have to say, Sergio Ramos, at any time. And there was a little bit of a spat just before half-time involving him, wasn't there, and Lamela.
Exactly. He didn't like being tackled, so he said, all right, it's that type of game, OK, we'll do it. Fair play to Harry Kane, young man of the team, but obviously wearing the armband.
He's the captain, exactly, and he's entitled to...
He's over there, listen,
to do what he's doing.
You're not expecting people to throw punches or get too aggressive, but you certainly want over there looking after their teammates.
Definitely so. It might get firer again because Pepe's being made ready by Benitez.
He's no stranger to a tackle.
Vertonghen. I wonder what kind of a message it does send out to young Wimmer, though, Gary, that he's been withdrawn after 45 minutes.
Well, I don't think that's a statement in itself. I know if it was a genuinely competitive game, you'd worry, but I think they all need to get the games in. As we said, Tottenham haven't played many pre-season games, so this is an opportunity. Their obviously mindset is to build up as the season goes along so that they finish strongly rather than burn out.
Kane almost on the turn. Eriksson threaded his way through a couple of players then. And Spurs get the corner. A little bit more progressive, isn't it, from Tottenham early on here, second half?
Yeah, isn't there a goal down? There'll be no shame in trying to go for the equaliser. They'll leave themselves open, I'm sure, but they need to be positive to try and get back into the game.
And they've got the added power of Vertonghen in the opposition box now, of course, as well. Let's see if they can find him here. Who went for it. Nice little cushioned header by Sergio Ramos, gets Real Madrid going forward. After a little bit too much of Lucas Vazquez, who's deployed down the right-hand side here. The young man they brought back from Espanyol. A couple more Real Madrid changes about to be made, and I think it will include Denis Cheryshev, who's a real flying machine, isn't he?
Yeah, he's another one. Similar to Vazquez, these young guys, when I say young, they're 22, between 22, 24, but these are really, really good players. But again, it's very difficult to make that break for Real Madrid. You've got to be the best of the best. But you'll be impressed when they come on. These are players who can look after the ball and are real talents and certainly be courted by many of the other clubs around Europe.
Spurs a little bit short-handed in the middle of the field then. A lot of players got in front of the ball. Isco. Marcelo threaded it through to Gareth Bale. He was stopped well. Eriksson gets the free kick, and gets a little knock as well.
Casemiro again. This is what I saw in the two games that Madrid played against Milan earlier.
Our hosts telling us that mighty Bayern Munich have arrived. At least they know the way here.
It's a wonderful set in this stadium, it really is. And for these young players, and we'll keep saying about Dele Alli, it's a great experience, and it's something that will serve them well. You've got to be able to cope in these arenas if you want to be a top player.
And that's the reception as the images get flashed up onto the big screens inside the ground here. And Marcelo is being withdrawn by Benitez just before the hour mark.
Arbeloa coming on. We'll know him well from his Liverpool days, of course. Benitez will know him well, and he's playing the understudy role at left-back at the moment, even though he is right-footed. But a good servant. I think he's more or less the vice-captain at this stage with Ramos, so he'll be an integral part of the squad. Here's Cheryshev now.
And I believe Illarramendi's coming on as well, Gary.
Hesse can be proud of his work today. He looked a real threat playing on the shoulder, and he will be an option to challenge, certainly challenge Benzema for that focal point of the attack.
I'll tell you one thing, you know, if you're a Real Madrid player at the moment, Gary, I suppose one of the most important moments of the campaign is going to be when the official squad list goes in to find out if you can get into the 25 or not.
I know, it's amazing. I think not only will the guys be important in seeing that list, but I think all the other teams around Europe will want to see it, because if they don't make it, there'll be loads of teams knocking on the door to try and take these players. talk of Liverpool being interested in Cheryshev, and it'll be interesting because what people don't realise as well about Real Madrid, the likes of Hesse, Vasquez, Cheryshev, they've come through their youth system. Now, I know Real Madrid can go out and get the best players in the world at that age. There's no doubt about that. But for them to break through is credit to the system still.
Here's Chadley. Going to hit it. Not sure there's an awful lot of conviction in the effort. Came at the perfect height for the goalkeeper to parry it away like that.
He's done well to parry it so far away, though, that no one coming in for any rebounds.
Something perhaps for Tottenham to build on here in this second half, though. They have made a little bit more headway than they managed during the first half.
That'll be a key part of their tactics this next season. Chadley cutting in onto his right foot and trying to take them shots. He'll obviously get the whiff outside from Danny Rose or Davis if he gets selected, and that's the way they play. They like to play their wide men quite narrow to create the space for them fullbacks to attack, as we see here.
A nice little build-up before that between Bentaleb and Ali, a promising feature of the day. It's broken down now for Tottenham. And we're won back again by Bentaleb. Pochettino's youngsters putting it up to Real Madrid. You may not, to mangle the famous phrase, you may not win awfully often with kids, but the great thing about the kids, they don't have fear.
No, they don't. They play with loads of energy, and it's up to that manager who's obviously said to him, listen, you do well for me and you'll play. And what more can you ask for as a young player? Normally, as a young player at a club like Tottenham, you'll see these guys coming in for the big money, and it must be so frustrating. Say, just give me the opportunity. Well, this manager is doing that. It's up to them now to take it. And up to this point, the likes of Kane has done it unbelievably well, but Mason as well. Danny Rose, to a certain extent, I know he had a wonderful season at Sunderland, but he's grabbed it.
Lots of room being found out this side by Chadley. And confident enough to go through a couple, and that almost worked. Lovely little change of feet, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was. He was unfortunately up against two players, probably looking for a bit of support from behind from Danny Rose, but I think this is where the fitness now starts to kick in, that if you made them lung-busting runs, they start to become few and far between as the minutes go by.
Ericsson looking to work an angle. Walker caught in two minds and almost caught in possession. Did recover well, Kyle Walker, and he got caught also. Cheryshev. He was never getting there, actually, was he?
I think he was getting where he wanted to get, and that was on the ankle of Kyle Walker.
One or two little testy challenges in this game for a friendly, and of course from Tottenham's point of view with Manchester United on the imminent horizon.
That's part of your training in pre-season, getting used to taking the blows, riding the tackles.
Alderweireld. Not the best of balls forward by Walker, I'm afraid. Bale, and Kyle Walker's got to regroup quickly. Probably offside. Cheryshev, was he, Gary?
Just a touch here, went a bit early on that run, and he was fortunate, Kyle Walker, although he does have the recovery pace to challenge, but Cheryshev is quick.
Looked a very tight one, actually. I think if you looked across the line...
they're fortunate, Tottenham.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I believe it was Vertonghen just trying to get up quickly enough and couldn't quite do it. Anyway, no harm done from Spurs' point of view. Perhaps Pochettino should also be applauded because, you know, he's prepared to look around the English game for young players and not immediately go to the continent or to South America.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think a lot of players get overlooked in the lower leagues, and we think about even Mason and Kane had to go and play the lower leagues. It's a good grounding. You've got to have certain requirements. If you're playing that level, but you have the physicality to step up and play with the pace that you see in the Premier League.
Well, there's Ali just demonstrating that he does have that physical presence again. Overdone though it was there, you know.
It looks like he's interchanging quite a lot with Dembele and playing a bit further forward. But he certainly has that. The boy can run all day, and you know, Casemiro, they're saying, doesn't look the fittest. It'd be interesting to see how his season pans out at Real Madrid.
The thing is, Dele Alli looks like he's loving being out there.
Why wouldn't you at his age? My God, you're playing against the mighty Real Madrid in an arena like this. That's what you dream about when you're a young boy. This is what we talked about, Gareth Bale playing at 10 and attacking the space. Danny Rose slightly advanced position, and Gareth Bale attacked that space for that long pass.
Well, there was so much space for that cross to be hit and to find a white shirt with it, and somehow it eluded all of them happily from Tottenham Hotspur's point of view. I think it was Danilo who whipped it in. Might have been one of those that if he just rolled it, might have been...
Just leave it in there for those to attack.
Benitez is going to give nearly everybody a run out that he can here. I think it's Asensio who's going to come on next. Of course, now he's new to the job. Benitez wants to have a look at all of these players, doesn't he, as often as he can in a game situation.
He has to see what's at his disposal. He obviously know the household names and whatever. And no doubt he knows all these younger players, but they might be able to give him something. We've seen it, obviously, with Pochettino. He's looked through his whole squad, the youth squad, the 21 squad, and saw if there are any players there who can possibly make the step up, the likes of Mason. I know we say about him being a young man, but he's 24 and he was still in and around the Tottenham squad, but not really getting near the first team.
Vasquez going the long way round. Not best use of the ball then, perhaps. Now, what is Benitez planning here? Oh, a reunion with another famous ex-Real Madrid and indeed ex-Liverpool player.
Fantastic player.
Yeah.
One of the best passers of the ball you'll see in the modern game, can really look after it. And also playing in that central midfield player, Alonso, he protects the centre-back so well.
So good for Bayern last season in the Bundesliga.
He has for every team he's played. I think even when you talk to the likes of Steven Gerrard, he says he's one of the best players he's ever played with.
So next on deck comes Marco Asensio for Isco. Teenager, 19 years of age, signed from Mallorca. Close to Benitez's heart, of course. And Sergio Ramos withdrawn for Nacho. And yet another Nacho who's had to struggle his way through the ranks, even though he's been at Real Madrid man and boy. He's 25 now. New signing, left of screen, the redoubtable Arturo Vidal brings his own brand of electricity to the Bundesliga next season, as Christian Eriksen is withdrawn by Pochettino. And Tom Carroll back on first team duty. Big season for him, of course, now, isn't it?
It is. There's an opportunity. If Eriksen is out, that Tom Carroll will come in and slot into that position. Obviously gone out on loan a few times, as we said many times about Mason and Kane last season at Swansea, but a good footballer. He'll be certainly motivated by what's happened to two of his friends from the younger squads at Tottenham, that they've got their opportunity and they've took it. So there's the motivation in itself there.
Mainly on the back foot so far in this second half, Real Madrid. Just over 20 to go here. Casemiro mopping up in front of his back four. Cherisev struggling to get into it since his arrival in the game. Kane offside.
Good strong tackle by the young boy on again here. Wings for Tottenham. 19-year-old midfielder. Obviously not in awe of the Real Madrid players if he crashed in and won the ball back there.
Switch it to space near side for Lucas Vazquez. Rose backing off respectively. Well defended in the end by Spurs. Vertonghen mopped it up.
It was a wasted opportunity that for Real Madrid. They had the overlap with Danilo motoring down to support, and that's something we saw of him at Porto. Loves to get forward. Something we associate with most of the Real Madrid players. The crux of the matter will be how well does he actually do when he's defending. That will be the test.
Asensio. Lovely little give and go there. Lucas Vazquez again. Asensio made a great run forward for him also. Very important for Bayern Munich, of course, that this man can get back to full fitness. Arjen Robben. And when his image goes up on the screen, I think everybody can detect the applause.
We talk about what was missing for Real Madrid last year at the top level, and the same can be said about Bayern Munich. What can make the difference to go that one step further? And people like Robben and Ribéry, I mean, you can't, no team in the world could cope without those players being there. And if they can get them back, obviously they've added to the squad. Vidal, as you said, Costa, who we've seen playing in pre-season, looks so direct, so powerful. Bayern Munich under Pep Guardiola, I'm sure, will go very close this season. Even as a young player, just being out there, and even if you're on the bench, getting used to this as a Tottenham youngster, and you're seeing all these top players turning up in these four-team competitions. They're wonderful occasions. I know people will say it's very close to the start of the season, but this is the type of experience you just cannot buy. This would be wonderful for their careers.
Vazquez again, and at speed outside him arrived Danilo. He's not done a lot of attacking today, the new defender from Porto.
Incredibly, as you said earlier, even though Tottenham start their season on Saturday and Madrid not for another couple of weeks, the Madrid players do look stronger. They certainly look more match fit, and that might come from all the games they've played. Now they've played the two Milan teams, Roma, City, and in all those games only conceded a penalty. You can see the work straight away that Benitez is doing.
And I think another plus point, Gary, which emphasises, you know, that they've worked their way to the top of the game. Players these days, they never let themselves get out of shape, do they?
You're absolutely right. Gone are the days where you pre-season is to get fit. It's not. It's just to get your timing. That's all you're looking for. Your timing, your heading, your passing, fitness. That shouldn't really drop significantly at all.
The La Liga campaign starts for Real Madrid against Sporting Gijón, away from home on the 23rd of August. Gijón actually promoted back to the top flight along with Real Betis.
You look at Real Madrid's fixtures, and it's possibly as good a start as you could have for Benitez. There's 6 teams that will not be rivals. They don't play anyone. There's a chance here.
Well, it might have been a chance. The cross by Walker was promising. You can see who he supports. Header. Do you think as a group the teams behind Real Madrid and Barcelona shaped to be stronger in Spain this season?
Well, you know how well that Atletico do under Simeone, so there'll be a challenge. Of course they will. And obviously that title in Spain is dictated to how well you do against your main rivals. Barcelona won the majority of their games, or certainly got a good points return, whereas Real Madrid didn't, and that was the big difference.
And Valencia, time and again, rising like a phoenix from the ashes. It's unbelievable, the level of consistency, given the club's problems over the last 10-15 years. They keep on producing teams that can compete against the best.
It's amazing, and it's great for the league, because you don't want it. I mean, as great as those games are, the Barcelona, Madrid and Atletico, now you want another team to come into the mix.
Barcelona meets Sevilla, of course, in the UEFA Super Cup next week. Some suggestions that the template may change a little bit in Spain, of course, with a reshaped television revenue arrangement, which should, in theory, benefit the clubs outside the absolute elite. This money's, in theory, going to be spread around a much more equitable fashion.
It seems incredible the way when we hear that it just used to go for the 2 top teams, but I mean that's better. We want to see a competitive league, and obviously La Liga has some wonderful talents in it, but the top boys more often than not beat the ones. They don't seem like the Premier League where the bottom boys could quite comfortably beat the champions on any given day, and rightly so. That's how it should be.
Certainly works here in Germany, doesn't it? When Bayern apart, it is so competitive every single week.
Just seeing the games in the Bundesliga is wonderful. The supporters and how many are able to get into the stadium.
Decent, tidy build-up by Tottenham, but not really a goal threat in and around that Real Madrid penalty box. I think in the longer term as well, if you were designing a league, Gary, you'd say one of the main reasons is that why you have to enable the money to get spread around, and you see this in the Bundesliga, is that the clubs outside of the real top tier do create great young talents. You know, the Werder Bremens and people like that are also part of the fabric of the game in that sense in Germany, and that's really the reason to make sure that the really big boys don't have it all their own way.
No, certainly, and that's possibly why their national team is so strong, because we see these players playing competitive football. And obviously it's difficult at times for those clubs, because when they are the top players, the likes of Munich come in and take them, but they rebuild and they seem to produce time and time again. These players seem to come through.
Almost for Bale, inadvertently.
We saw him attacking that space again. But Tongan's playing a very iffy game offside. You'd like to see him staying with runners. There's loads of time on the ball, just deal with it.
Not had an awful lot to do, has he? Kiko Casilla, the man replacing Iker Casillas.
That's why it's such an important position for Real Madrid, because the majority of the games you're not going to have much to do, and then suddenly you're expected to make a save. Your concentration levels, are you able to cope with that? Are you able to produce the type of saves that save points, that win you games?
Well, we had the most extraordinary situation last year, didn't we, between Navas and Casillas.
No, it was
just 6 league appearances for Navas in 2014-15.
There's been a lot of talk recently, especially with the likes of Petr Cech going to Arsenal, and how valuable a top goalkeeper is, and people are very quick to equate points to how important that role is, but certainly De Gea at United was massive. Here's an opportunity now for Bale.
Let's go on his left, and it goes all the way through Michael Vorm. Not a very good moment for the Tottenham goalkeeper of the moment, and Gareth Bale again makes Tottenham Hotspur rue his departure.
Gareth Bale picked up a sloppy pass there, and because of the power and pace that he has in that role, the Tongan is scared that he's going to knock it and run, so probably gives him a little bit more space than he should have done. With that, then he takes the shot. He should really maybe have slipped his man in outside, because he was in clear on goal, but Gareth Bale is not going to miss the opportunity to get a shot there when Ronaldo's not about. But it's poor goalkeeping. But you must say that he gets a lot of dip, and it just dips deep as he goes down to make the save.
But Vorm would be expecting to make that save, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'm being kind there. Obviously, if you're trying to make an impression while Lloris is out, that you could be the man to start the season, that's not the way to do it.
So it looks like it may well be beyond Tottenham here at 2-0 with, what, just over 10 minutes to play, even though Spurs may claim to have taken their performance up a level in this second half. They've just not created real goal threat, even though the player's been better. You're
right, they've had control of the ball and they've got higher up the pitch, but sometimes you've got to think, is it because they're being allowed to do that? Real Madrid are sitting back, using all their experience. They've got the 1-0 lead. They're just allowing Tottenham to come onto them, knowing that they've got blistering pace to hit them on the counter-attack, and so it proved.
Young Luca McGee is in the party for Tottenham, with no Lloris available at the moment. Rose, deflected cross, takes it away from the opposition goalkeeper, who then gets helped out very tidily indeed by the experienced Arbeloa.
A nice passage of play there, really tight, intricate passing by Tottenham, but no end product, unfortunately.
And just not enough product in front of the goal when Tottenham have been going forward here in the second half. Vasquez. Asensio. Bale recovers it. Walker eventually, and he gets a free kick.
This is where it gets really hard for Tottenham now, as Real Madrid just keep the ball, keep popping it about.
And I was about to ask you, Gareth, I think Gareth Bale is going to be withdrawn here, having probably put the game beyond his former club. Not a very good moment for Michel Vorm. And in fairness to Gareth Bale, scant consolation against his former team.
Big season for Gareth Bale. Obviously a new role, it seems, in that 10 position. Took a lot of criticism, unfairly, last year, really. I'm sure that man there we just saw would have been one of his heroes growing up. But it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, Benitez has been vocal that he's going to play a major part in the season, so he's got the opportunity in a different position, but obviously if he gets within areas of that distance to take shots, he's more than capable of scoring, as we've seen.
18-year-old Borja Mayoral has come on for the last few minutes here. What is it like, Gary, when you're playing in a pre-season game like this, in the last few minutes, when you know, look, we've got another game tomorrow, and the big one's on Saturday, which is only, what, 3 days away now? What's that like?
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't think I've played this close to a first game of the season, to be perfectly honest, but as we said earlier, this is a wonderful opportunity as a learning curve for these players, so it's great that they've been involved in a wonderful competition like this. But certainly, as you're playing and the game's going, you're just making sure that you've got that physical energy to last the game. Obviously, you'll be struggling now, but it'll be to your benefit now as the season progresses.
But do you think it will be to their benefit come Saturday, or not?
Well, I think in terms of recovery now, they won't want for anything. They'll be ready to go again. And certain teams now make a decision, listen, we've seen it with Chelsea and Mourinho saying that we're not going to be perfect for the first game of the season because we want to make sure that we're perfect at the end of the season. It's not about peaking this early, it's about how well you finish. And Pochettino will be mindful of that. Obviously, when the season ended after a hard year last year, they went off to Australia, so it was extended for these guys. So maybe they're not quite up to speed, but they certainly will be as the weeks progress.
It all got away from Tottenham, really, in the period around the League Cup final against Chelsea, and they went on that bad little run in February, March.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen. I think your eyes are on the cup final, and suddenly the disappointment can take the wind out of yourselves. But, you know, they recovered well enough then to secure that 5th place, and now the aim is, can they improve on it?
Martin Odegaard is warming up for Real Madrid, the youngest of all their teenagers. Cheryshev has not really made much of an impact, in all honesty.
I'd be surprised, actually, because he's done really well against the 2 games against the Milan clubs. I thought he'd have done better than he has done, but perhaps that's credit to Kyle Walker that he's been able to nullify his threat.
A few positive thrusts from Danny Rose, but no real end product for Tottenham, sadly. Vertonghen. Mentaleb. Chadley. Walker. Spurs need to get their shape back here, and quickly. It's Vasquez again. And never really hit with any conviction by Asensio. Well, he can't brood on it, and he's got, in theory, another game tomorrow, unless Pochettino decides to put in another of the youngsters. But it is the moment which really has put this game beyond Tottenham.
He'll be so frustrated because it's a comfortable save for a goalkeeper his ability. His chances have been few and far between since he come to Tottenham. And it was a big surprise, really, that he left Swansea, where he would have been first choice to come here. But when you get opportunities at elite level clubs, you've got to take them. And unfortunately, that type of mistake doesn't help him.
Pochettino has also put young Harry Winks out there for a few minutes. Have a little taste of it. 19-year-old in there alongside Carroll at the moment. Helped on its way by Carroll. Real free kick. I suppose one way to look at it, if you are Tottenham Hotspur, they lost 12 league games, Gary. You know, if you could halve that just by tidying it up a little bit on occasion, that would make a significant difference in terms of the overall points tally. Well, they got to 64, and that was 6 behind Manchester United.
Certainly that will be where they've got to improve defensively, and they've made acquisitions to try and do that. Now, it'd be important how quickly they bed in. The fact that Alderweireld has played a season already for Southampton will know that he can cope with the Premier League. It's just getting that understanding with Vertonghen, as it looks like. Rose at left back. It'd be interesting to see who gets the nod at right back, whether it'll be Kyle Walker or Trippier. But certainly they need to improve defensively, because as good as they've been going forward and as many goals as Harry Kane scored, you can't expect him to score every single game. You need to be tighter at the back if you want to be successful.
And as you rightly pointed out, there is still plenty of time in the transfer window for Spurs to...
That's what will be so interesting
to bring somebody else in.
Will they go out and get another centre forward? Because someone's going to have to share the load with Harry Kane. You do worry at a young boy at that age, and I know people say all the time these young boys should be able to play all the time, and of course they can do, but we're talking about being at the very top of their game. And if he played summer football for the England under-21s, with my experience of, it's fatiguing. It's around about February that it hits you. You feel great at this point because you're sharp, you're looking forward to every game, and why wouldn't you? Every time he plays, he looks like he's going to score. But there will be a lull, and it's important that Tottenham can cope when that happens.
Very much as though Tottenham Hotspur will be playing in the early fixture tomorrow again, third and fourth place playoff against either of Bayern or Milan.
Another learning curve for them to play against one of the giants of Europe. Obviously AC Milan stock is not quite as high as it was, but they're looking to get back there with the signings they've made, so it'll still be a wonderful game. A great test for them, certainly.
Rose. Here is Harry Winks. Trying to find out Arbeloa. He wasn't deceived by that, the veteran.
It's nice to see a young boy like Winks obviously have the confidence to try and hit them raking passes, but he'll learn soon enough that you can't give away possession to a team like Real Madrid. You've got to look after that ball in that central midfield area.
There's a little bit of pressing by Josh Onoma. Into stoppage time we go. And No need to extend it. Real Madrid, a goal in either half, and a very bad moment, I'm afraid, from Michel Vorm, which ultimately has decided the outcome of this first game in the Audi Cup. And Gareth Bale, wouldn't you know it, was the player who was to benefit from it, to give Real Madrid ultimately a quite comfortable 2-0 win. Mainly headline, Pochettino giving all the youngsters he could the chance to experience an atmosphere like this in the Allianz Arena. But even without Ronaldo and Benzema, Real Madrid had just a little bit too much where it counts. And in the main, Gary, the goal threat throughout the evening came from Real Madrid. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think they controlled the ball in midfield and were able to probe and wait for the openings. And we talked about concentration levels for these Tottenham young players, and this is the difference when you play against these big boys here. Danny Rose has got James Rodriguez comfortably there, but switches off for just a second, and when he tries to recover at pace, it's too late. It's a goal. These guys do not miss these type of opportunities, and that's a lesson these young guys are going to have to learn. Danny Rose, just on his back foot there, should have comfortably dealt with that, or at worst, pulled the centre-back, who was Dyer at the time, to deal with the cross. But this is all part of the learning curve. You're playing against top players here.
So James in the 37th minute.
I think that would do James' cause no harm at all. Obviously, he's come back late from the Copa America, and you don't want to make sure that anyone gets a steal on you, but he's got 2 goals now in these 2 games I've seen him play and look sharp.
I think you could say there was an improvement from Spurs in terms of general play second half, but real sights of the goal were hard to come by. Eriksson, who tested Casilla early on, not making the best use of that opportunity second half.
No, they looked to press them more. Certainly Tottenham higher up the pitch and get numbers forward, and they were able to get these shots, but when they were looking for little passes, it's difficult. Benitez has got these well drilled at the moment, and there's not much gap to play in. Unfortunately, as we said about when you're playing, you're quite expansive here, and the loose pass gets punished. Your 2 fullbacks are out of the game. Bale's looking to run you in behind. You don't quite get close enough, and the goalkeeper should be able to cover that. At worst ways, he should have his body behind it, so that if he does bounce up, he's got the safety net that don't go in the net.
But it did go in the net, approaching the 79th minute, and that really decided the outcome of this game. Not that Gareth Bale celebrated an awful lot.
No, I know, but Tottenham fans will be looking and thinking, I wish it was the white of Tottenham he was doing that.
Modric and Bale now very much of Real Madrid, and seen in all their finery today as Real Madrid progress to the Audi Cup final. And it will be either Bayern Munich or Milan that they will meet in the second of the games tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to have the pleasure of your company again tomorrow, when Spurs will be first in action in the 3rd/4th playoff. As an exercise, very interesting, but not the outcome that Tottenham were looking for here tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Our second live game coming up.